What's up, Worcester State? Welcome to First Year to Fearless. I'm Thomas Kelly.
And I'm Tammy TKay, and we're your guides through the ups, downs, and everything in between during your first year as a Lancer. Each week, we'll break down the experiences, challenges, and campus support that make the difference in turning your first year into a fearless one.
We're here.
We're here.
Tammy, how did we get here?
Well, we like to talk.
We do.
We like to hang out.
Sometimes.
But we love helping students.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about what First Year to Fearless is.
It's a podcast.
It is.
It's our way of bringing some knowledge, bringing some advice, bringing our colleagues to the table, sharing all that with our first year students, crossing our fingers that we have some listeners out there, some followers.
We definitely have listeners out there.
Okay.
Like my mom.
That's a maybe.
That's a strong maybe. Yeah.
But yeah.
So tell everyone a little bit about who you are.
So I'm Tammy TKay. I'm the Assistant Dean in the Academic Success Center here at Worcester State University. I oversee a staff of academic advisors who are helping all of our first year students.
Awesome. And I'm Thomas Kelly.
Yeah, who are you?
I'm Tom.
That's the better question.
Who am I? No. I'm Thomas Kelly. I'm the Director of Retention here at Worcester State. The retention office is really geared towards minimizing and removing barriers that support student persistence, retention, and completion. We do a little bit of everything. We just try to identify students who may need some support and try to connect them with the best place to receive that support. I like to use the analogy that we're kind of like a cheat code a little bit. Like we know how the inner workings of an institution function, and we try to help students with the language and navigating this new space. So yeah, that's me. So this week we want to talk about transition as part of this first semester for a new student to Worcester State. And there's a lot of different things to take into consideration to ensure that you're as prepared as possible as you head into that first week. So where should we begin?
There's a lot.
There is a lot.
But like you said, this is a weekly podcast. So let's try to break it down into a timely fashion and talk about, I don't know, the top few things that we should be addressing in the first week.
Let's do it.
When are we dropping? When's this dropping?
I think it's Monday right now.
Awesome. So let's talk about Tuesday and where our first year students should be on Tuesday.
Absolutely. Let's do that.
So new student welcome is the day before classes start. It's Tuesday, September 2nd. And we host a lot of events that day, programming, all geared towards new students at Worcester State University. The first event of the day for new students is called convocation. And so information about that is on our website. I'll throw it over to you for that.
I got it.
You got it.
Yeah. So September the 2nd. So tomorrow at 8:15, you can head over to the Wellness Center. The multi-purpose room has check-in. I think that starts at 8 a.m. And the ceremony for academic convocation starts at 8:30. So academic convocation is like an official academic welcome. If you think of like this bookend analogy, convocation is like the start, graduation is the end. So and convocation literally means calling together. I only know that because it says it on the website, but I'm never going to forget that. But it's this formal academic ceremony, and it's an academic welcome to Worcester State. And it's also supposed to inspire students because this is a really good start to this new academic journey that you're on. There'll be faculty, there'll be staff. It's a great ceremony.
Are you going to be there?
Of course I'm gonna be there.
Me too.
Okay, good.
One of the things I like the most about this event is the excitement, the vibe, the energy. It really is a place for students to look around and say, "Oh, you're new here too," and then you get to look up into the quote unquote stands and see advisors, staff members, faculty, and it's this visual of like those are the people that are going to help me.
Absolutely. And just to update something, the ceremony starts at 9. Check-in ends at 8:30. So I just want to make
Awesome.
sure for all those listeners preparing their schedule
All
for tomorrow.
the listeners.
So, and there's a lot of other things going on throughout the day. There's a classroom readiness session with faculty. I think there's two of those throughout the day. There's a student center showcase where you can meet different student organizations. You can meet different offices during an engagement fair. I think that's from 2 to 4. So there's a lot of things going on at this new student fall welcome the day before our classes
I
begin.
love the faculty engagement session.
I do too. I'm going to be at one.
There's
Uh,
two.
there's two running,
Okay.
two or three running concurrently. I'll be at the one in science and tech, but there's two offerings. There's a like a earlier, and then there's one after that. I don't know
The
how that works out.
the sessions are with our faculty who are very interested in talking to first year students and giving them sort of the inside info about how classroom expectations are different in college and what faculty are really looking for in those first couple weeks. So if you're feeling a little nervous about how high school is different
Yeah.
from college, these faculty will have very candid, open conversations. I think it'll take some of the sting out of the big differences. So I highly encourage going to those sessions.
Yep. So there's two panels. The first panel starts at 10 a.m. and the second panel starts at 11:30. I will be in science and tech 102, and I think it's either 4 or 5 faculty per panel. So it is some great insight from the wonderful and amazing faculty we have here at Worcester State.
Be there.
Be there. Cool. So that's the new student fall welcome, which really brings us into like the start of the semester. Classes begin on Wednesday. You want to talk a little bit about some of what the technology as you kind of get started for your semester? Maybe some tips and tricks to make sure you have the best first day possible.
Sure. I think that there are two places students need to get comfortable quick, and that is with self service slash student planning and Blackboard. So just to give, a quick 60 seconds on each. Um, Self-service is where you'll see your schedule, book information, classroom locations, faculty names. It's the hub of all the info that you need. If you're having trouble logging in or navigating, you definitely need to contact your academic advisor in the ASC and they will help you. Next stop is Blackboard. This is our learning management system, which houses very specific information for each of your classes. Most of our faculty use this. Some don't. So you might log in, see a class, and it's empty. But most of our faculty do use this. You should log in, go from class to class. Everybody sets it up different. So it is kind of a get to know you each time you click on a different class. You'll be submitting assignments there, working on message boards, accessing course information, maybe taking quizzes online. It can be overwhelming, but if you digest it class by class and do that before the first class, you'll have questions for your faculty member, troubleshooting, ask your classmates. That's a big one which is new for most students coming out of high school.
Absolutely. Do you want to talk a little bit about the syllabi and what students might find there?
What's a syllabi?
A syllabus. It's a outline of your course. It might be uh, tell you about assignments to anticipate what required materials are going to be
Oh, I
needed.
know what you're talking about.
You knew the whole
I
time.
did.
Yeah,
I think of it like a roadmap to
great.
the class. Some, like I just said, each faculty member is different. You could have a syllabus that's 12 pages long. You could have a syllabus that's a paragraph. You could have dates, details. You could have really basic information. Either way, it's important to check those ahead of the first class if you can. But if not, soon after, most faculty, most first classes will review that document.
Absolutely. And I think a really important thing to mention about a syllabus is it's going to include the required materials you may need for your class. This could be books, it could be equipment, but to order books right now, you can go to worcester.ecampus.com. Free shipping to the campus store, 15-day return policy, get new, used. Sounds like a commercial, doesn't it?
You
Get
sound like
new,
a
I
commercial.
do. So you get new, used, rental, digital materials. They also do price matching at eCampus.
Did not know that.
I did know that. So um, make sure you check out worcester.ecampus.com for more information. Um, the the only way to get books is to order them online at Worcester State, um, and you'll be able to do that and get them shipped right to our campus store.
Awesome. Thank you.
Campus store is located in the student center on the lower level. That's good. Yeah, cool. Should we talk about self-service?
We can.
I think we should.
Let's do it. So, self service is a place where, like I mentioned, there's lots of information. You can also go in there to look at your bill, see your financial aid award package. Um, I will specifically talk about the schedule and the academic information that's in there. We have what's called a degree audit. That's basically your requirements to graduate. Um, Again, something that can be overwhelming in the beginning. Your academic advisor can take you through all those steps, help you digest it. Um, let's go take it back a second. And let's say you go to that first class and you kind of want to switch it for something else.
Yeah, because like maybe the time doesn't work.
Right. Maybe it's the time, could be something else. Maybe you're changing your major on the first day of classes. And by the way, that is okay.
Absolutely.
Either way, whatever the reason you want to make a switch, I recommend going into self service and maybe looking at some classes that you might be more interested in, you might want to switch into. Ultimately, your academic advisor in the ASC has to make that change for you when you're a first year student. But getting a little information, breaking it down, bringing that to the appointment. I say appointment. We're doing walk ins all week. Who am I kidding? No
A
appointment
walk-in
needed.
is a type of appointment.
Sure. Preparing yourself to choose what you might want to go into would be helpful for that appointment. Um, Maybe you don't know who your academic advisor is.
How would a student find out who their academic advisor is?
Self-service.
Self-service. There you go. Self-service is like another type of roadmap. It's,
It is.
yeah. So, um, some important information additionally about self-service that Tammy already mentioned. That's where you're going to see a little bit of your perhaps your financial aid, but it's where you can see your whole student account.
Mhm.
So if you do have an outstanding financial obligation for the fall 2025 semester, you're able to see that information there as well. Um, yeah.
I think one of the probably most overwhelming pieces for students is if the bill hasn't been fully paid yet. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that. It's uncomfortable,
Sure.
but it's real. And I just want to put it out there that if there's a student listening to our podcast that's having some of those financial challenges and figuring out financial aid, um, making a payment plan, scholarships, book money, please connect with your academic advisor in the ASC because there are resources, ways that we can help navigate all that, but we're not going to know unless you let us know that you're struggling. And again, that is uncomfortable. It's tough sometimes to ask for help, especially when it's due to financial. But that is why we're here. That's some of the support we do provide. And we would really want you to come forward. We'll talk about it. It's delicate. My staff is ready to help. So
Yeah.
don't be afraid to do that. Um, Easier said than done.
Sure. Absolutely. Really important that I always like to mention when we talk about student accounts. In addition to financial aid, is also payment plans. Payment plans allow students to split up payments across monthly payments, and WSU offers two low-cost, interest-free monthly payment plans. For more information and to enroll, check out the student accounts website on worcester.edu. That one sounded like a commercial too.
Is there something you're not telling me?
I don't know. Th- These are not paid advertisements. These are resources
I
that
think I
hopefully make
heard you.
transition a little bit easier.
I think I heard you trying to sell a car on TV. Was that
Not
you?
recently. No, can't say that I am.
All right. What do you want to talk about next?
I I kind of want to talk about like navigating the first day and maybe some of the things that you might want to do before the first day of classes. So if you're here on for the new student welcome on September the 2nd, maybe some things to consider. Exploring parking options. So look at your schedule, figure out what time your classes start, find where those classrooms are, and maybe explore some of the student parking options that you have close to that academic building. But then perhaps some other parking options that might not be directly next to that building because, um, parking at times is a little bit challenging because other students are navigating campus around the same time and they're getting here the same time or earlier or later. And that might lead to exploring some different options besides just the initial parking lot outside of your academic building.
Our campus has a lot of cars. We have students who commute. We do have some resident students who have a car on campus. And then, of course, all of our amazing faculty and staff that drive to campus. So, what's your parking plan,
Yep.
basically?
Yep.
If you're commuting to campus and you have an 8:30 class, my recommendation is to plan to be here for 8 o'clock. If you are here for 8 o'clock and you're parking in those designated commuter spots, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be able to sit in your car, take some deep breaths, enjoy your last cup of coffee. You can head to one of our coffee spots on campus, grab something to eat, head to class. No rushing, no running, no sweating as you're going late to class. If you have an 8:30 and you show up at 8:30, things change. Looks different. Lots of congestion and everybody at the last minute trying to find a spot. Um, you will likely be late for class.
And to be honest with you, if you come at 8:30 for an 8:30 class, the person that might be also trying to park is the person who's there for that 9:15. People who get to
Oh,
campus like a little bit earlier than their
early
classes.
bird.
Yeah. Um, for commuters, parking decals should have already been mailed out. You should have already received those. If you have not received those, I would suggest contacting parking and transportation. Their email address is parkingtransport@worcester.edu. And some information about which lots students can park in. You can park in lot D, F, G, H, K, L, O, Q. Now, before you rewind this episode and write all those down, you can get more information about parking on worcester.edu/university-please/parking. Now, if you're a resident student parking is a little bit different. You do have to apply for a decal. You can do that on that same website. And then there is specific designated parking spots for resident students down in Lot A, parking garage lots on floors 3, 4, and 5. But you do need to apply for a parking decal and get that granted. Decals are $175 for the year and $90 for the spring semester only.
For resident students.
That's for resident students only.
So,
If you're a
we took.
commuter student,
Sorry.
decals free.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, as we mentioned, that first week of parking, everybody kind of getting to know the campus, understand where parking is available. Um, as we see throughout the semester, things ease up. The congestion is a little less. But in the meantime, even in that first week, there are still rules to follow. You cannot park in accessible parking, cannot park in faculty parking. And those are designated, very easy. And what are those little hash mark non-spots.
The ones that are not spots. Yeah.
Yes, don't park in those.
Yeah. Because that's
Um,
not a spot.
it's not a spot. Well,
That's,
people
mm,
try to make it a spot.
yeah. It's not real.
Can't pull over on the side, on the grass, on the curb. You really just need to park in a real spot.
Absolutely.
Tickets will be issued by campus police, and they do go to the city of Worcester. So they're super real.
They are real tickets. That's right.
They're real tickets.
Yep.
They can stop you from renewing your license if they go unpaid. They can stop you from registering for an upcoming semester. Not trying to be negative, but just telling the real story of what parking is like at Worcester State.
Yep. What I will add is that if you do have the proper placard for accessible parking, of course
Oh,
you
of
can park
course.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So with parking, with navigating your first week's schedule, it's all about being prepared and knowing where you need to go, and perhaps taking that practice jaunt around campus might be the thing that reduces the amount of stress that you might be feeling in that first few days.
Y-
Can I talk about early support tables?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so through the retention office, we have amazing faculty and staff volunteers who will be at early support tables in the Sullivan Academic Building on the first floor. They'll be in the administration building. You see them smiling. They have resources. They'll have candy. If you have questions, they can help you answer those questions, find the right resources you may need, or even just be a friendly space to be reassuring as you're navigating these new spaces over the next week. So
Thanks for doing those.
I love them.
Friendly faces,
Candy, breakfast,
candy.
breakfast bars.
I think that when students are lost, the folks at your table can like sense it. It's like a little superpower, and all of a sudden they lock eyes with the student and they're like, "Are you lost?"
Are you looking for 125?
Like you
Yeah,
just know.
yeah. Navigate. I think that's why we put such an emphasis on just like navigating new spaces, because it's they're they're confusing at times. Numbers go up, numbers go down. Am I in the right building? Am I on the right floor? What time is it? Am I looking at my schedule on the
Where are
right
the
day?
bathrooms in Sullivan?
Where
Because they
are
are like tucked away sometimes. And
where
yep,
are the facilities? Yeah. So I think by just putting helpful, friendly faces in spaces where perhaps there's some congestion for students, I just think it makes things a little bit easier and tries to reduce that stress a little bit.
it
So
does.
yeah, cool. Any other start of semester first week things we want to talk about?
I mean, so many things, but I think for this podcast and for the students listening, the things that we just covered are a great first week theme.
Absolutely. And plus, we're going to talk more about this topic next week too. So,
I know.
all right, now we're on to a segment called Question of the Week. These questions come in from students each week. So, if you have a question and you want it perhaps answered on the podcast, email success@worcester.edu and make sure you use the subject line Question of the Week. Tammy, you want to take yours first? You want me to go next?
I have the first question.
Okay.
It's slightly related to a topic we've already discussed, but it gets into more detail. Dear first year to Fearless, when should I buy my books? Great question, right?
Let's,
When should a student buy their books? So, no right or wrong answer. Um, Logging into self-service and Blackboard right now, looking at all those classes and identifying what equipment you need, what books they're requiring, like TK mentioned earlier, is important. Writing down class by class, what's offered new, used, electronic, the prices, and kind of just getting an overall cost of what the semester is going to look like is just a great first step. You do not have to have these books for the first day of class, but you should have a plan of when you're buying them so they're there for the second or third. Now, we talked about finances. Not everybody can buy all their books at once. If you don't see yourself being able to buy those books in the next month, again, you need to reach out for some help. But getting those books within the first 7 to 10 days, if you're staying in those classes, is really important. TK and I have worked with students in the past that heading into October, maybe November, and somebody finally saying, "Well, I wasn't able to buy the book. I'm not doing well in the class." There's a direct link there. If you do not have the textbook for the class and you haven't notified anybody or talked to the instructor and you're just winging it, it's probably going to hurt you in the class.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And we were talking about syllabi earlier. There is information in syllabi about what to do in the event that you may not be able to afford one of the resources that you need for your classes. So,
Yeah, there are some classes out there, maybe heading deeper into the major, where you might have to buy 3 or 4 textbooks. It's okay to ask the faculty member, are we reading these all at once? Or 1 or 2 of these in the second half of the semester. It might not be clear on the syllabus.
yeah.
So you can kind of make that plan based on, um, the timeline in the class and what you're going to be covering.
Tammy, do you have any of your books from when you were in school?
I don't.
You don't have any of those
I mean, I have
textbooks?
my yearbooks from high school, but
But not
none of
like
my textbooks.
no textbooks.
No, because a long time ago, you would buy these books and then cash them in to buy the next set of books.
Mm,
So it was kind of a cyclical activity.
yeah.
Do you have
I
your
have
books?
so many
I
textbooks.
think I knew that.
Yeah, like my garage, I have a tote of just textbooks from my undergrad.
That's kind of cool.
It's heavy. It's really
Yeah.
I definitely miss that like sellback period on them for sure because now they're a few editions behind
I mean,
or digital at this point.
right. And
Yeah.
and when for new students, when you log in and look at the prices for that new book that TK obviously kept for memories, versus the rented book versus the PDF electronic textbook, you'll see the prices change. And I'm going to say for first year students in your first year, it is okay to purchase the thing that you have to give back or that you might not have access to, like TK does in
Mm,
his garage.
it's true. I think what I think about textbooks, and this came later on for me, but it's like, which books am I gonna want to go back to later on in my career? And in some ways, based on depending on what your major is, you're building this like
Mhm.
professional library. So for the things that you think are going to be part of that professional library, maybe those are materials if you can purchase and keep that you should, and if you can't, then that's okay too. You buy them later on used.
Sure.
I have a ton of used books that I went back to.
And like I said, I never did. What's that say about us?
I don't know. It's the road less traveled, I guess.
Hmm.
All right, my question. I didn't
Oh,
get.
yeah. TK,
I have
do
a
you have
question.
a question?
I do have a question. They didn't write this dear first year to fearless.
Mm.
They said
Informal
it was
question.
very informal. It says, w-
Hey,
"Hey you, what do I do if I have a health insurance charge on my student account, but I already have my own coverage?" This comes up all the time for students. If you have a charge for health insurance and you already have your own coverage, you can waive the charge at universityhealthplans.com. This again sounds like a commercial segment. But if you need the insurance, the enrollment form is also found on that website. But
awesome.
again, if you have your own health insurance and you want to waive that charge, you do need to complete the form on universityhealthplans.com and get onto that website. Make sure you select Worcester State University and follow all of the necessary prompts.
You said if you want to waive it. I'm here to say you want to waive it. If
Unless
you already
unless you
have
need,
health
yeah,
insurance,
of course, yes. If you have health insurance, you should waive it, or you can waive it. If you don't have
waive
health
it.
insurance, you would just need to finish the enrollment cycle on it. So
Great question.
those were good. Now again, remember, if you want your question featured on First Year to Fearless, email a success@worcester.edu. Make sure you use the subject question of the week.
Because if you don't use the subject line question of the week, you won't get that prize.
And,
There's a
I
prize.
was actually gonna say, if you don't, someone's gonna reply back just with the answer.
Oh, right. We
Because
we need to know that this is something we need
yeah,
to put on the podcast. But for
you'll also
every
get an answer.
for every you get two. You get two things. You get an answer and a prize.
That's right. Cool. All right. On to the next segment. This is Campus Connection. Each week we highlight or spotlight an office or service that's designed to help support students. This week, our spotlight is the Academic Success Center. Tammy, tell us about the Academic Success Center. Where do I find you? What do you do?
I'll give you all the details. We are the Academic Success Center. We are located in room 130 in the administration building. That's on the first floor, all the way down the hall. Our neighbors are the registrar's office. We are a hub of academic advisors ready to help students answer any questions. Like I mentioned before, first couple weeks of the semester, walk in, walk in, walk in. Your first year academic advisor is located in this space. You'll be able to meet with them, talk with them. But then after the first couple weeks, you still need them and they are still here. So at that point, highly recommend an appointment. But you can connect with your academic advisor to review courses, think about that major, choosing your major plus, registering for the next semester, even questions that might not be academic, they are going to know the answer and where to point you in the right direction. So you should always be connecting with them. We also have a little workshop that we do for new students, and
Tell them, tell them about the workshop.
I'll tell them about the workshop. It's located in our space too. It's called New to Woo. It is a workshop series for students on these transition topics. Some of the stuff we're talking about today, but it's got hands-on activities run by our graduate student. It also is a chance for you to connect with other first year students in a workshop format. It's a nice little community. The last few years, we've had consistent turnout of like a dozen students who really just got to know each other, got to know our staff. It was a really nice community to get to know each other. It was great stuff.
Awesome. Again, Academic Success Center located in the Administration Building, room 130. Walk in, advising support, schedule time with your academic advisor,
New to Woo workshop
new workshops,
every Monday.
bunch of other stuff.
Yep.
Awesome.
Thanks for the spotlight.
Thank you. All right, now we're on to fearless tips of the week. Each week, Tammy and I are gonna give you some tips for where we are in the academic semester. And Tammy, take it away.
These tips are real.
These are legit. These are lived experience, learned lessons. And each week I'm gonna take out the diary and read you a day in the life.
These are tips that TK and I feel like you can execute, you can do them, and you will see results. So, my tip of the week is to introduce yourself to each of your faculty members that are teaching your courses. It might seem basic, but it goes a long way. I'm going to stop short of saying you should sit in the front row because I know that can be tough. I don't even like to do that. So, introducing yourself after the class is over, walking up, shaking hands. Hi, I'm Tammy. I'm really excited to take this class. Looking forward to a great semester. You can literally say the same thing to each faculty member because they're not going to tell each other. With that said, if you want to email your faculty member to say hi, I'm okay with that too. But there's one tip you really need to listen to on that. Do not start off your email with hey.
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah.
Being formal in an email to your faculty member also goes a long way. So, hello, Dr. So and so. If you're not sure, you can say Professor so and so. Like, the only way you're going to get it wrong is if you say, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
I mean, I love that in an email, really feel connected with students, but emailing your faculty member, keep it formal, keep it professional, and that's the way to do it.
Yeah. Awesome. My tip of the week is about asking for help. And maybe this goes into that early support tabling theme, but Asking for help early and often. Definitely don't want to wait until the semester is underway, midway through, near the end, because that minimizes the amount of time that you can receive that support and perhaps implement what comes from that support. So, there's a lot of different offices and services that are here to support students. Maybe stop by one of the early support tables this week. Grab our resource guide, which breaks down all of the different services and support that students have access to, and get started today.
I mean, I want to say it's a cliche statement. It's never too late to get help. But I would say, to echo your comment, earlier is better with more options.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like we talked about before, it's not always easy, it can be uncomfortable, but the team that we have in place to help is so nice, so caring, so patient. Everybody at Worcester State is, but we are specifically designed in our office to have a relationship with first year students and navigate these support systems with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think asking for help, using support services, I think that's one of the ways that you build strong, sustainable relationships, rapport. And I think whether it's an academic advisor or it's somebody at the counter at the registrar's office, there's plenty of people that are here to help support students and see them succeed. So, oh, you know what's really important in the first week?
What's really important in the first week?
Showing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to show up.
And not just for the free stuff at all the tables. You
No,
you
you
mean
I mean attend class.
yeah.
Yeah. Every week, every class. Be on time.
I mean, you might hear from some of your friends or, I don't know, watch some Netflix show that says, "You don't need to go to the first class." You need to go to the first class.
Oh, absolutely. I think the first step of success is showing up. So, as you approach the first week of classes, the first week of higher education, show up, be there. I think that pairs really well with this concept of just like being prepared,
Yeah.
knowing where you need to go, what time you need to be there, alleviating some of perhaps the unnecessary stress that comes with the unknown. Um, so, yeah, those are our fearless tips of the week.
Love them.
I love them. I live them. Do you have any stories about a time where you didn't show up to class? I have a good one.
I mean, it's bad. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a
It
bad
it's
story?
well, it's just I ended up having to withdraw from the class.
Yeah.
It was silly. Like everybody that I was friends with in the class was basically like, that this class was so fun. Like it was just at a really bad time of day,
Mm.
meaning morning.
That's where my story is too.
And my very first semester, I couldn't get up for class. And it's a vicious cycle of you don't go to a few and then you're embarrassed to go back.
Mm.
Total regret on my
Yeah.
part because my friends were in the class. We could have all just got through it together. It wasn't a painful class except for it was 8:30. And I really wish that I A had just gone to class or B changed my schedule when I could have and just recognized I'm not a morning person
Mm.
because all the other classes were fine. My attendance was great. Um, it was just a hard lesson that then, of course, every single semester after that, guess who didn't have an 8:30?
You.
This person.
Hmm.
Um, and it worked out. So I mean, I learned from it, but it's kind of silly when you think about it. Just get up
Hmm.
and go.
Mine's this. I have a very similar story.
Yeah.
So I was in music theory one at 8:30 in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Hmm.
It was so peeling back the curtain. Tammy and I went to the same college, just at different times. So I'm gonna use building names because you'll know. I lived in Scanlon.
Same.
The class was in Bates.
Okay.
That's very
You
very
could
close.
fall out of bed and be in your
In
seat. Yeah.
exactly. So I slept in and I missed a Wednesday music theory one class with Peter Koutsarides. Remember the faculty? Great percussionist, great music faculty. And he saw me later in the day
Oh,
because I did make it to the class after, which was in the same room. So I was
busted.
just like waiting to walk in. And he's like, "Oh, I missed you today." I was like, "Yeah, I slept in. I woke up at 9." And he looked at me. He goes, "We at 9 we had 15 minutes left in class."
Mm, you
He's like,
did.
I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You could have shown up for that 15 minutes. It would have been better than not showing up at all." And what a powerful lesson about
Yeah,
just showing up. Like, yeah, I messed up with my alarm, or I don't remember the
sure.
true circumstances of whether or not I was just like sleeping in to sleep in or what, but he really emphasized that like something is better than nothing.
It is.
And he didn't make me feel bad about missing the class. I think he made me realize how I made it harder than it needed to be. So,
Yeah, everybody misses class. We're not here to say you can never miss class, you can never be late for class. Just don't let it compound into a bigger problem than it needs to be.
yeah,
And if you're gonna miss class, you're gonna be late, email the instructor. Don't get caught like TK in between classes. Don't be like me and have to withdraw from the class. Just connect with your faculty. They are very understanding. Communication is key.
absolutely. So before we wrap up this episode, I want to plug one event that's happening this week for students. Perhaps over the summer, you joined us for one of the Woo State Scoop Wednesday live streams. If you did, come celebrate Woo State Scoops. Get your year off to a sweet start with the Ice Cream Social Thursday, September the 4th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Where's it located? Outside of the lower level of the Student Center. There's going to be free ice cream and novelties, stickers, giveaways, and more.
Yeah, this is the free stuff
Yes, that's one of the
event that we're talking about. That this one's really cool. I'll be working 11 to 1. I did some of the sessions over the summer. It was great. Um, Hoping for a nice sunny day. Not too sunny where your ice cream melts, but hope to see people there.
not too hot, not too cold. All you need is a light jacket.
Just right.
Just right. Um, Great. So as we close this week's episode, I want to give a little preview to next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about the second week of the semester and what that's like, and
Hmm.
maybe look at some of the lessons learned in the first few days and what to anticipate from the second week on. Some important deadlines, ad drop, and so much more.
Let's
Tammy,
do
this
it.
has been fun.
Real fun.
Any final thoughts?
See you next week. Hear you next week.
See you later.
Bye. This has been First Year to Fearless. Wherever you are in your first year journey, thriving, surviving, or somewhere in between, we hope today gave you something to hold on to. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and above all,
Stay fearless.